Dzień dobry, dzień dobry. Dzień dobry, dobry, dobry. What do you think happens when you have a dictator for 40 years? For 40 years you've been like a saint. You haven't gone out, you haven't drank alcohol, of course you didn't listen to rock music, and you've been dressing like a nun. So one day, suddenly, he dies. What happens to you? Well, I think this will happen. That the 80s arrive and you go completely wild and revel. Alcohol, drugs, and rock and roll, and sex, and deprivation, everything together. This is the 80s in Spain, and that's why we find ourselves in the most interesting musical period in Spain, the 80s. During something called La Movida. Do you know La Movida? Do you hear about this? Have you ever watched any early Almodóvar film? Crazy things happening, you don't know where they're coming from, camp, glamour. Well, this is it. But I'm not here to talk about the history of this movement. No, this is not me today. I'm here just to take a look at some songs that I think they are important during the 80s, and I want to share them with you because I think they're fantastic and maybe you don't know about them. And I am dying to share this with you guys. Dying. The must know of the 80s, the highlights. Let's get to it. So the first one I'm gonna listen to is from the iconic band Mecano from 1982, Me colé en una fiesta. I sneaked into a party. Have you ever sneaked into a party that you were not invited? Well, this is the song. Let's listen to it. This harlequin theme in Spain is very 80s. Well, yeah, this is one of the most relevant examples of synth pop in Spain from the 80s, and Mecano is one of the most famous bands ever in Spain. They were extremely big, and I really like this song, of course, and the lyrics, because she is actually singing as a he. Because usually the one who was writing the lyrics for the songs, it was Nacho Cano. So he wrote it as a guy, and she just sang it the way he wrote it. She's talking about him going to a party, sneaking in a party, they are very witty, the lyrics. Okay, so some more information about the song. It was the first song that gave the group the first #1. And when I was creating the list of the songs that I wanted to include, there were so many of Mecano, but I just included 2. So Nacho Cano was just 18 when he wrote I Sneaked Into a Party, and the story is based upon true events. Actually, he went to this party. It was the birthday party of Pablo Pérez Mingue, Poch, and he was known for being the photographer of all the stars back then. Alaska, Almodóvar, Carlos Berlanga, Tino Casal, everybody was photographed by him. Paloma Chamorro, Fabio McNamara. So if you were not invited to this party, you were no one. And yes, this was the first #1 they had, and I think it's one of my favorite songs from Mecano. The second one I want you to discover is completely different. It's an example of glam rock in Spain. This song is from 1983, sung by Tino Casal, and it's called Embrujada, Bewitched. Was that blood?
Cuentan que la estrella
so many things going on in this video. I don't actually know if this is the official video because there is not him there. I don't know why. Some information about him. He was one of the best examples of the new romantic and techno of the 80s in Spain. And he was very creative. He was also a painter, he was a sculptor, and of course he was the key figure of La Movida Madrileña. He had to be anywhere. When there was something going on, he had to be there. And he would have had a very long career, but unfortunately, he died on September 22nd of 1991. He was just 41 and he died due to a traffic accident in Madrid. And it's very sad because everybody in the car survived but him because he wasn't wearing the seatbelt. This is an example of such a great amount of talent that gets wasted because you forgot to fasten your seatbelt. Different kind of genre, pop rock in Spain, 1980, Tequila Dime que me quieres. This is kind of a lady punk.
Hay una cosa que te quiero decir, que es importante al menos para mí. Toda la noche estuve sin dormir porque dime que me quieres. Dime que me quieres. Ahora estoy triste y necesito saber. Aunque parezca tonto, voy a pedirte que me lo repitas una vez y otra vez. Dime que me quieres.
Okay, there you have like such a boost of energy. Yeah, we did have rock, we had soft rock, we had rock mixed with anything. In the 80s, Spain was all about rock. And actually this band, Tequila, emerged before the Movida Madrileña. So it was before anything happened. They were there. So they were providing us with rock with influences of Chuck Berry or the Rolling Stones, as you can hear. And they sounded very, very different from the symphonic rock or the urban rock that was sounding back then in Spain. So some information for those who don't know them. I know you don't know them, but anyway, you can always engage in these kind of conversations that, oh, you know, Spanish music. I know everything about Spanish music. So songs like Salta, Quiero, besarte, or Rock and Roll en la Plaza del Pueblo catapulted the 5 members of Tequila to stardom. But they were dissolved in 1982, so early after that. Among other reasons, due to the constant arguments of the members of the band who were already addicted to heroin. So nothing new. Next one, a classic. I love this one. This one is 1984, Alaska, Ni tú ni nadie.
Estoy mal en elevar mi tensión, en aplastar mi ambición. Tú sigue así, ya verás. Miro el reloj.
She's a hurricane.
Te esperaría otra vez. No haré, no lo haré. ¿Dónde está nuestro error sin solución? ¿Fuiste tú el culpable o lo fui yo? Ni tú ni nadie, nadie puede cambiarme. 1000 campanas suenan en mi corazón. Qué difícil es pedir perdón. Ni tú ni nadie, nadie puede cambiarme.
Yeah, if you wanted an anthem, this is a Spanish anthem. So I could have chosen many songs of her, but I chose this one because for me it's the most iconic one. She's one of the most creative and talented artists in the history of Spanish music. Oh, some information. She was part of different groups such as Caca Deluxe. They all have these kind of weird names that mean eschatological things. Alaska y los Pegamoides, Alaska y Dinarama, Fangoria, and she had hits all through all the musical stages she was So for her CV, have you been an actress in Pedro Almodóvar's films? Done that. Have you watched Pepi, Lucy, Bom y las chicas del montón? She's there. Have you been a successful host of a TV show in Spain? Done that. Have you had your own reality show similar to the Osbournes in America? Done that. So as I told you, this woman, everything she touches, she turns it into gold. And she's an example of empowerment. So guys, this was the first part. You could get an idea of what Spanish music sounded like in the 80s. Everything was very crazy, I know. This is the same as in Poland as I've seen. And next week we'll have the final one. So if you liked it, like, comment and subscribe. And see you next week. Adiós, adiós, adiós.